Now, I'm sure you're all aware that Modern Horizons has given us a bunch of new ninjas, 2 of which are in our opening hand. It's a shame we are not going to keep this because we have no mana there. Alright, that's better. Invisible Stalker is really good in this deck as well, so we'll keep that. We're on the draw, luckily. Is that worth keeping in hand so that we can put it on top? That's the most damage that we can deal with Yuriko. No, I think we need to get into something else, and hopefully we can tutor that up after with the myriad of different tutors that are in the deck. Yuriko, the Tiger's Shadow, versus Breya, Etherium Shaper. And I don't think we're winning this game, are we? They go for an impulse, so it looks like they are aiming to get into more lands. They are in a 4-colour deck, so that is something that they'll need to be getting into. We can just get down a tapped Jewel here. And pass the turn over. Breya, Etherium Shaper, 4 mana for a 4/4, comes in with 2 Thopters. Then for 2 and sack 2 artifacts, you can either deal 3 damage to a player or planeswalker, -4/-4 a creature, or gain 5 life. It is every colour except green. Yuriko, the Tiger's Shadow, is 3 mana in Dimir for a 1/3, but it has Command and Ninjutsu of 2 mana. When a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, reveal the top card of your library and put it into your hand. Each opponent loses life equal to the CMC of the card. And oh, there's Weathered Wayfarer, so that ought to help them get into their colours, although I think they need to have us on more lands than they do, don't they? Yes, if we control more lands than our opponent, then Weathered Wayfarer can tutor for lands. We're not going to play the Urborg and help them out with their coloured mana. Let's just go in for the Invisible Stalker, and then we might have to hold up Remand on our opponent's turn if they get into the coloured sources that they need. Okay, and after much deliberating, our opponent decided to pass the turn. We'll get down the swamp, and I think we have to hold up Brainstorm and Remand here. We could have risked a Brainstorm and tried to get into another blue source, but I think we'll just go in for a point of damage onto our opponent here. Alright, well there's a Tithe. Because they have to actually physically play the lands. They could have a Signet or something. Now let's try and get down Yuriko now. And our opponent is hit by our commander. We get to reveal an island. Well, that's not going to deal any damage, but it is at least another land for us to play, and another blue land at that. Now they're just 1 land away from getting their Breya down. 5 cards in hand. Okay, Command Tower is good. We'll get that going. And I think we're definitely holding up Remand and Brainstorm now. Let's swing in with the Yuriko. They might just block and activate with the Weathered Wayfarer in response. So we could have held off on the Command Tower, I suppose. See what land they're searching for. They go for a Wasteland, as I assumed they would. So when they go for one of our blue lands, we'll just go for Brainstorm in response to that. And there's our opponent's Brainstorm. Looks like they're just going for Breya by the looks of it. They still have a Scrubland and a Wasteland in hand. So I'm expecting to see Breya here. They might have free counter magic. And that looks like a Force of Will, yep. As soon as you see the life going down, you can assume it's Force of Will. Let's go for Brainstorm in response and see if we can get into a Force of our own. Oh, I thought that Mana Leak was a Force of Will there. No, we will just... Yeah, we'll put Urborg and an island on top, and then we'll shuffle the Urborg away with a Verdant Catacombs next turn. So they are going to get their Breya into play here. If they want to sack a couple of Thopters to get rid of, Yuriko, we're not really too worried about that because we have the Nether Traitor. We'll draw into the island. Let's shuffle that Urborg away with the Verdant Catacombs like we said we would. And then I think I'm just going to get down the Invisible Stalker. We could go for Nether Traitor with haste straight in at our opponent and get Yuriko into play, but we don't have any other ninjas to really take advantage of that with. And we don't have a means of stacking the top of our library, so I'm just going to go slow here and hold up the Mana Leak. We're just one away from the Dig Through Time, unfortunately. And there is the Wasteland going after the Underground Sea. We'll just let Breya come in here. And it looks like they are holding up counter magic as well. They've got a Scrubland in hand that we know about. The other 3 cards could be anything really. Okay, Sakushima Student comes in as a copy of any creature on the battlefield except it's a ninja. I don't think I particularly mind that actually. So let's get Invisible Stalker going. That can come in as a copy of Breya. We'll bounce the Invisible Stalker back to our hand. And Sakushima Student will come in as a copy of Breya, and we'll make use of those Thopters. Now they're going to sack some artifacts in response here. By the looks of it, they're going to have to get rid of Mana Crypt and their commander. Well, we're still going to end up with Thopters, so I don't mind that. And it saves us putting mana into getting rid of their Breya. So this is okay with me. We still end up with things to get ninjutsu going. We'll just hold up the Mana Leak again. Unfortunately, that Wasteland keeps us from holding up Mana Leak and getting the Invisible Stalker back down. But that's why Nether Traitor is so good. The haste is really relevant in this deck. And unblockable with haste for only 2 mana is really good. Okay, we might as well go for Mana Leak here. If they've got counter magic, more free counter magic, then they need to use it here. Otherwise Breya is going to cost them 8. But they don't, so that goes straight back into the command zone, and they've got 4... Yeah, they can recast it again. Okay, Limdal's Vault. That will allow us to stack the top card of our library, so let's swing in with these Thopters, and we'll get our commander back down. Bounce a Thopter back to our hand and get down Yuriko with the ninjutsu. And then with the ability on the stack, we'll go for Limdal's Vault. And that will allow us to stack the top 5 cards of our library. Well, there's a Commit to Memory. Then there's Cover of Darkness, Telling Time and Tetsuko. Not particularly mind those actually, so we won't pay the life. We'll go Cover of Darkness and Tainted Isle. Then Tetsuko, we can draw into Telling Time next turn and reveal the Commit to Memory right now. Then when we reveal the Commit to Memory, that will deal a massive 10 damage to our opponent. We'll just pass like that and pretend that we've got counter magic held up. There's that Scrubland, so we can finally get rid of that window. And down comes Breya again. Now we'll be able to get down Tetsuko next turn because we are going to draw into Telling Time, if I stack things correctly, and if I'm remembering correctly. And then we'll be able to draw into the Tetsuko and make Yuriko unblockable. And then we are revealing a... Oh, I think we're revealing a land actually, aren't we? Oh, and there's Gilded Drake, so that changes things, doesn't it? Yeah, no doubt they're going to take Yuriko away from us here. Now we could go for a commit to get rid of a Thopter. And then a Nether Traitor. Swing in with everything. That would knock our opponent down to 1, because they would block the Gilded Drake with the remaining Thopter. Then that would put our opponent in a position where they need to play more artifacts to sack to Breya. I think we have a cover of darkness on top, don't we? But that doesn't help us because there's a bunch of artifact creatures in play. Yeah, I think we go for a commit to put a Thopter on top of the library. Then we'll go in for Nether Traitor. And that means that we've got some points of damage coming across. They can block the 3/3 Drake. But they can't block the Flyer and the Nether Traitor, so that knocks them down to 1. Luckily for them, they've gotten rid of the Mana Crypt already. Just going full on aggro at this point. Swinging in with Yuriko to draw themselves a card. Let's see what they get into there. They get the new counterspell. Target player draws 2 cards, gain control of a target non-land permanent with CMC 1 or less. They could take the Thopter from us, but it will still be blocked. Or they can just use it as a counterspell. I missed that. That was Vandal Blast onto the Thopter. 4 cards left in hand, one of which is an arguably useless spell. Okay, they decide to sack their own Sol Ring and Breya in order to gain themselves 4 life and buy themselves a little bit of time. And now they've got the counter magic held up as well. We've got that Tetsuko. Let's swing in at our opponent. There's no need for us to go for anything here, really. Could go for Dig Through Time and see if we can get anything from that. Yeah, let's go for Dig Through Time. I'm just wondering if we can get a Lightning Greaves maybe and play out the Tetsuko with a Lightning Greaves. They might just let this through because they're worried about other creatures that we could cast. Alright, we can take a Wasteland and knock them off blue mana. I say we take Wasteland and Snapcaster there. The rest can go in any order on the bottom. Let's Wasteland our opponent. Do we want rid of white or black? Well, they've got double white, whether we get rid of Tundra or not, so let's get rid of Underground Sea. We'll go through to combat, because we're not going to get haste on the go anyway. So we want that blue out of our opponent's mana pool. Swing in with a couple of unblockable creatures, that will knock them down to 2. And I'd be curious to see if our opponent can actually do anything here. Down comes an Urborg. That gives us all the black mana we'll ever need. Now we could block with Snapcaster Mage here, but I'm curious to see if our opponent can get into anything. They just get into a Hallowed Fountain, they can't play that this turn. So unless they can get rid of our creatures now, I think we are looking good. Yep, there we go. If they had done anything else there, we probably would have just gone into a flash Snapcaster Mage and then swung in for lethal next turn. In my experience with Breya, you just need to keep artifacts off the field, and if you can force them to sack their own mana rocks, then even better. Because the less mana they have, the fewer times they can recast their Breya. Didn't see any of the new ninjas, unfortunately. We did at the beginning of the game, but had to shuffle those away. I will continue to play more Yuriko if anyone's interested, and we can hopefully see some of the new ninjas. Let me know what you think of that idea. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.